Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Anura Mohammed, and I am the coordinator for the Addis Abeba Women for Climate Mentorship Program. And I'm here to present about what Women for Climate is all about and what we do. So, Women for Climate is one of
Go ahead.
All right. So Women for Climate is one of Seaport's initiatives which focuses on advancing and supporting the next generation of women climate leaders. So what we do is we aim for the full participation of women in the fight against climate change, and also in promoting the efforts of sustainability. We make the case for women leadership. Women for Climate makes the case for women leadership in the climate sphere, and also it creates a platform for women to participate and to advance their projects in the climate sphere. So Women for Climate has 3 goals. One is educate and empower. So this is important to speed up and enhance the climate action within cities. The second goal is to inform and share knowledge. This is key to deliver inclusive and just climate action within cities. And the third is to drive action, which is important to bring about inclusion to the forefront of the fight against climate change, and also highlight the women's role and women's leadership in climate change in the fight against it. So we have 3 work streams. One is mentoring. So our mentorship program is designed to accelerate the initiatives and projects of young, talented women by matching them with well-established and committed leaders so that they can guide them and mentor them and really achieve their projects and achieve the goals of their projects. Many cities have launched their projects, including Paris, Barcelona, Vancouver, Auckland, and many others. And Addis Abeba launched the program back in January 2019, and making it the first African city to do so. And then was followed by Freetown. So the second stream would be research. So the research is very important to understand the interplay between climate change and gender and what the women's role would be. There was a report published in 2019 entitled Gender Inclusive Climate Action in Cities, and you can find it in our website. The third is the Tech Challenge. So the Tech Challenge is an international contest for women all over the world globally to carry out innovative and technology-related actions against climate change. So these are the 3 work streams that Women for Climate is working on. So the question becomes, why women? Why are we working on women? So the answer is because women make half of the world's population, and due to a systematic distribution of resources and power, women are highly impacted, more impacted by climate change. And their voices are not always heard due to lack of representation and lack of inclusion in the decision-making levels. However, women are agents of change, and raising awareness and acknowledging the gender issues at the local level is very important, very critical to address to solve the problems of climate emergency and to bring about a better living condition for all of us, for all urban dwellers and for all the residents of the city and country. So it's important for their voices to be heard, and that's why we're working on women. As I mentioned before, Addis Abeba launched the program back in January 2020, and it has created a platform for young women and also contributing to the city's climate action. We have 17 mentees from different sectors, including energy, transportation, sustainable fashion, and out of this, 3 are working on and are related to food. One will be Ainalam. She's working on achieving a green growth through food for life and simple methods. She's also currently working on a social enterprise called Ethiopia. The second would be HEWAT. HEWAT is working on the Wise Women Herbal Gardens, and which is focusing on creating a climate smart food production and healthy food production by also creating the job opportunities for disadvantaged women. The third mentee working on food-related issues will be Shwanish. Her project Clean Feed is what she does is she collects food wastes from hotels and homes, processes it, and then uses it for animal feed and chicken feed. So these are the women that are mentees that are working on food-related issues. So it's important to help these women and to support them. We need, for the full potential of women to be realized, the women that are working on climate action, we need to empower them. So I call upon all of us here today to support these women, either by joining the movement or by becoming mentors. As you can see from this picture, we have Sarah, who's also a mentor in the Women for Climate with her mentee. This picture was taken in one of their monthly meetings. They're discussing the silk makers. As you can see, they're holding it in their hands. So it's important to empower them and to inspire them. So we need to motivate them, either by giving them advice, by feedbacks, or even planning their projects. Women, we need to realize their full potential and help them and support them. So with everyone in this room, I'm confident of the opportunities to connect, to advise, and to inspire each other. And when we join our voices, we become more powerful and our results become more sustainable. So this is what Women for Climate is doing, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker will be Freyo. Freyo Buriso is one of the very active members of our Agroecology Network Steering Committee, and he will be presenting on the work of the Agroecology Conservation Agriculture Hub. Let's. It doesn't look right. Is that correct? Okay.
My name is Freyo. I work for Canadian Food Waste Bank as Conservation Agriculture Technical Specialist, supporting Canadian Food Waste Bank partners in Ethiopia and Ethiopian Ministry of Agriculture or Conservation Agriculture Peace. So I will present on Conservation Agriculture mainstreaming in Ethiopia cultural extension system. Just to give you a brief description about conservation agriculture for those who...
Sorry, Freyo. Like the people on the Zoom are complaining about the echo. So they're wondering, is it possible for you to shout so the people in the room can hear you?
Okay, hello?
Without the microphone.
Okay, without the microphone. Okay.
If the people can hear. Can you hear? Okay.
Without. Thank you very much. I'll try to increase my voice, and hopefully it will be heard for the Zoom participant as well. Just to give you some brief about the introduction, about CA, an intro. CA or conservation agriculture is a simultaneous application of three principles. We call them minimum soil disturbance, covering the soil permanently with mulch, and also crop diversification. Actually, these principles are the same across the world, but CFDB also encourage the farmers to innovate the three principles to their context and adopt it. Then why CA is also an issue in Ethiopia. Actually, CA introduced in Ethiopia in 1998 for the last 20 plus years. But actually, conservation agriculture is not yet that much adopted much in the country. So why we are talking about conservation agriculture? The reason for this is conventional agriculture that is based on tillage-based or repeated tillage-based system is causing land degradation, erosion. Much erosion is being happening during the rainy season, and it's also affecting soil organic matter, soil moisture, and also the biodiversity, both fauna and the flora. So many things, it's affecting the soil. For example, to mention a couple of research in the northern part of Ethiopia, particularly on northern highland, we are losing the soil from 4.2 up to 175.5 ton per hectare per annum. This is much, that's a big loss. When I try to contextualize this, we are losing 17 trucks load, like 17 trucks load per hectare per annum. From 1 hectare, we are losing 17 trucks. This is much soil, and so this tillage-based system is causing harm to our soil. And even during the rainy season, hopefully you have seen how Abeba is flowing, like its color is different, reddish. Why? That's one of the reasons is like we are not only losing, the water, but we are also losing our soil. So we need to focus on conservation agriculture because it saves our soil. It reduces degradation, soil degradation, and the nutrient loss. It saves moisture, and it also increases biodiversity and increases yield. So through this, to focus and to help Ministry of Agriculture and the ministry staff to adopt conservation agriculture or to mainstream conservation agriculture, we have done many steps, but these steps are not linear. The first thing is we have tried to identify the policy and the practice challenge. In Ethiopia, we don't have a problem of policy. We have a conducive policies, many policies, CRGA policy, strategy document, national adaptation plan. There's so many policy documents. But in practice, conservation agriculture is not yet adopted well, and it's very limited practices there. So where is the problem? What is the gap? Why we are not implementing conservation agriculture as grassroots level? Why our farmers are not doing conservation agriculture as grassroots level? And why the extension team is not supporting the farmers to adopt conservation agriculture? In our observation, one was, even though we have conducive policies, there is no guidelines, manuals, and extension materials that can support the extension team, DAs and others at grassroots level who are immediately supporting the farmers. The other, on the other side is the mindset problem is also another challenge. Like we have been doing repeated tillage for 1,000 years, and this entrenched mindset problem is there with the farmers, is there with agriculture bureau expert and with the DAs as well. Another point is there is also misconception on conservation agriculture. Some relate conservation agriculture with chemical-based farming system, like dependent on pesticide and the like. Practically, this is not true. So for this, we try to focus on capacity building activities, series of trainings, many trainings, because this problem is deep-rooted and it needs training across from the farmer level to the federal Ministry of Agriculture staff level. And also, we try to just create awareness creation through different media, through radios and the like. The second step, what we have done is actually next to awareness creation, trying to link conservation agriculture with other good agronomic practices. Actually, conservation agriculture alone can't bring a big difference for our culture and for our productivity of crops and soil as well. So linking with the other good agronomic practices is also very important, like application of fertilizer, promotion of high yielding crops, improved crops, and the like is very important. The other integration is also, as you know, Ethiopia have like with the number of count, we have livestock. We are first from the Africa and 10th. Actually, recently we have become 6th from the world, but not productivity, but that is the number of livestock, only the count of heads. So in this time, we need to also see the competition between soil and the livestock. To address that, linkage with livestock, integration with livestock is also very important. And actually there are a lot of things, but because of time, we have tried to experiment CA on comparison plot. That is to help farmers to innovate and to experiment and learn from that. We don't want to just, dump the technology to the farmers. First, we try to support the farmers to experiment by their own. We don't encourage the farmers at the time to adopt conservation agriculture in their entire land. But on piece of land, they need to compare conservation agriculture practice with the conventional one. And after a year, if they are convinced by that technology, they are the one to scale out in their farm and also teach to the neighboring farmers. So this experimentation is very helpful, taking the higher officials to visit the CA sites. Presenting at room level is not effective in our country as we have learned it. So taking the higher officials and helping them to communicate with CA farmers is very helpful. Then they can learn and communicate with the farmers. The farmers are the one to advocate the technology after seeing the benefit of the technology. So this all step gone, and just we use the network, the collaboration. Actually, this is one of the networks that we work with. And as CFGB and the team, we don't believe that we alone bring a change. We always believe that we will bring a big change with others, together with others. Like-minded organizations are very helpful to bring a change. So through that cycle, finally in 2008, December, in the month of December, Ministry of Agriculture issued a letter for the regions in order to mainstream conservation agriculture into the agricultural extension system. As of that, this has been experimenting and doing, but there is a huge gap for implementation still, because as you know, our farmers are like more than 80% of our citizens are farmers. And also we have over 60,000 extension staff in Ethiopia. Reaching this big goal requires like many stakeholders support and cooperation. So what is called for our action is just join us to try in your organization to experiment in a small amount or in small size in your project, in food security project, in other project. You may not require to do like conservation agriculture, pure conservation agriculture, but in your food security project, you can implement. If you have small farm, you can try like 10 by 10 comparison plot, and then you can learn from that. And after that, it helps to advocate on conservation agriculture. And my last advice for the youth is growing many crops in CA system is possible. Vegetables, fruit crops, whatever it is. Then join us and just ask us, call us, contact us, and then we are with you. Thank you very much. Finally, I acknowledge, the Ministry of Agriculture. They were very flexible. They were like, we were working like as one staff, as one team. It is not as before. Like we are very closely working with the ministry staff. And also the donor, GAC, Global Affairs Canada, the real program implementers are Minonia Central Committee and Thirfan Canada through FH Ethiopia and Tarapeza Development Association and the Migwara Sanai. Thank you very much.
A true agroecologist. He believes in the integrated approach. Thank you so much, Freu. Our next speaker is Ms. Lensa Gurma. And she's been working together with us with the Civic Engagement Alliance on asset soils
management. I hope that you can hear my voice. My name is Lensa Gurma. I'm from AgriProFocus Civil Engagement Alliance program. Now I'm working on. Okay, my name is Lensa Gurma. I am from AgriProFocus Civil Engagement Alliance program. Nowadays, I'm working on soil acid treatment, and we are now working on a Lyme campaign. Before I go to my presentation, maybe most of you didn't know about the soil acidity issue. So when we say soil acidity, it might create a question in your mind. So soil acidity is when the chemical in the soil starts to be disturbed, then there is an excess amount of hydrogen and aluminum ion in the soil. It starts to be toxic to the plant. So during this case, In this case, soil acidity is formed. According to the Ministry of Agriculture of Ethiopia, the soil pH, which is less than 5.5, is considered as a strong acid. In this data, the soil acidity is maybe formed when the topsoil is eroded or washed, then the cations that found in the soil start to form hydrogen and ammonium. Then this may cause, it may start to be toxic to the plant. According to the total land of Ethiopia, about 43% of the cultivated land in Ethiopia is highly affected in acid. From this, 28% of...
You can't use it, sorry. You need to shout.
Okay, I'll try. From this, about 28% of the land is affected by a strong acid, which is affecting the production. And this, about 3.7 hectares of the land now cultivated is affected by acid soil. So this causes a decrease in production, and it also affects the day-to-day life of the farmers. So in order to overcome this problem, so what we are going to do is using a lime as one agricultural input within the fertilizer and improved seeds. So when we use a lime as one agricultural input, as you see in the picture, one farmer who is producing in 1 hectare a wheat, when he was not using a lime, he's producing about 27 quintals, but when he starts using this lime as one farm input, he is going to produce about 47 quintals of wheat. So this shows a big difference in production. So lime can also use, lime is used to treat this acidic problem, and it's also important to overcome the acid problem. So in our country nowadays, we are losing our production due to this acid problem. When we are not using a lime, we also lose a fertilizer. Nowadays, we are using about 4 million fertilizers due to not using a lime together within, during our production system. And also when we come to the cost, it's about 64.7 USAID we are using every year due to this acid problem. So in this lime campaign, what we are doing is, first is awareness creation. The awareness must be created in the farmers. The farmers have to know that their land is affected by the acid problem. And the other is each and every one of us have to know that the acid problem are there and we are struggling because of that. And because of this problem, we are importing a high quintile of wheat in our country. But if we treat our soil with the lime, we can just stop this importing and we can produce it in our land. So in this campaign, the awareness creation is done by using different medias. Nowadays, we are working with ERCAM medias, with GIZ Ethiopia, and with Ministry of Agriculture. The other thing is just supporting the farmers in finance. Different microfinances are there. It may be in the loan or in the credit that are given to the farmers. Then in the production system, we are also involving different private and public sectors who are involved in lime production, in lime cracking. Then the transport is there. In the transport, we are also involving private and public sectors to work together to support the farmers. In the distribution, we have different cooperatives, units, and also Warada agro bureaus and agro dealers are also there to work together to overcome this. But when we see the issue, most of us, it might be a new idea for us when we speak about the soil acidity issue, but it's the same for our health. For example, if you say that, if you see our gastric acid, the acid level in our gastric is increasing, we can't eat any food. It is the same for the plants. If the acid level in the plant is increasing, the plant doesn't grow, so there is no production on the land. So when we see this problem, it's the same as human health. So we have to be there for the soil. The soil health is important. If we take care of the soil health, we can produce everything we want on the soil. And also we can give a better land for the next generation. This is what we are working on. Okay, what I ask for all of you is just to work together in this lime campaign and to influence the policy. when I'm meaning the policy, nowadays in Ethiopia policy, fertilizer and seeds are used as one farm inputs. But if we work together and we influence the policy, starting from the next cropping season, we can use lime as one farm input, which is important for the farmers. The other thing is lime doesn't use for every year. If we apply once lime, it can be used for 3 consecutive years. But it's not the same for fertilizer and seed. For the fertilizer and seed, it have to be applied on the land in every year. So during doing this, we can support the land, and also we can support the farmers. Even if we use this lime with other integrated managements, like as Freya says, crop rotation, if we use composts, if we use vermicomposts, it can even above 3 years. So we can have a sustainable land with a sustainable production and farmers with a great production. And this is what I say. Please, shall we work together with fighting acid soils? Thank you very much.
Okay. I want to thank Lensa so much. She's been our tongue as AgriProFocus. She helps us connect with farmers in the field. She's humble, she's patient, and she listens. And so she's been able to help us connect farmers with a story to tell and an issue to raise with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Regional Bureaus of Agriculture. Thank you so much. Many people see her and they say, how old are you? She's our muscle. We would be able to do nothing without her. And I just want to thank you so much. And I want to encourage all of you in your organizations to engage young people, dynamic young people like Lensa. I want to thank you so much for your work. And I also want to recognize some other people in the Acid Soils Coalition here. Do we have Ato Wibishet from the Ministry of Agriculture? Not yet. Okay. Dr. Samuel, could you please stand just one moment? Dr. Samuel's coming. This is an amazing leader from our coalition. You might have read about him on our blog posts. He's been working together with farmers to make sure that they use lime correctly, together with integrated soil fertility management principles. If you have more questions, please ask Lensa, please ask Dr. Samuel. And integrated soil fertility management is also very similar to the conservation agriculture that Freya was talking about. Thank you. Our next presenter is Fraser. So Fraser is one of our urban agriculture leaders, and urban agriculture is quite an action. You know, there's a lot happening in Ethiopia with urban agriculture these days. So we want us to hear, we want you to tell us a bit about what's happening in the movement and your experience as a young entrepreneur. Thank you.
So, can you hear me? So, look at this slide. So, we have innovated the way we travel and we transport in a way that nowadays we are in a course to even.
Next.
Imagine, what if we actually innovate our agriculture as we innovate our way of transportation. Hello to everyone. My name is Fraser Fikru. I am the founder and operational manager of Green Hinnon Agricultural Technology Services. Today I'm going to talk about youth and urban agriculture. Always innovation needs inspiration. That's how I actually understand it. If you ask innovators and influencers, they will tell you that there is something or someone that actually inspired them to do what they did today. There is someone who actually puts the idea and the vision in their minds to conceive that idea and vision while they were little kids. So when they grow up, they actually love it, they work on it, they innovate it, and they actually make the world a better place. Let's take an example. So 30 years ago, this has to be a concept. This is to be a concept. In a movie, we saw like, what if we actually control a device with using a touch? Then Steve Jobs saw that and he actually loved it, and he actually take that idea and he actually work on it and he transformed it. And nowadays we all have this device in all our hands. with much cheaper price, faster in modern ways. So as a generation, this generation, when I see it, it needs inspiration to actually work on this new industry, this infant industry. So in every industry, there are game changers. They can actually create enabling environment for the next generation to actually work on work and engage in these ideas. As a company and as a visionary, we Green Henon are trying to be the game changers and the enablers for the next generation to actually engage and love this new era of urban agriculture and agri-tech industry as a genre. So when I actually take a deep look at it, making agriculture techy, sexy, and fun. That's showing the younger people and the younger generation that agriculture as an industry by itself can become an industry that is profitable and lucrative and fun. That our youth can fall in love with is the basic thing to actually drive this young generation to actually love agriculture, to engage in this sector, to actually work on it, to love it, to embrace it, and to actually innovate it more when the next generation actually comes. So this is how we actually see the agricultural sector. So when we talk about agriculture, it's not. It has to be supported with technology. For example, let's take the most problematic issues in agriculture, such as logistics, farm extension systems, and even the overall supply chain. It has to be supported with technology to solve all these issues. Otherwise, we can't solve it. So integrating agriculture with technology is the basic thing to actually drive this infant industry. That's why we actually work on this industry to actually innovate it, to actually make it more techy so that our agriculture can become more interesting to this younger generation. That's what we are actually trying to do in this era. So why urban agriculture? Urban agriculture is the main sector to actually make an instant impact in this younger generation. When we look at the younger or the youth in urban, they are more conscious. They have the access to technology and internet. With the higher demand for fresh produce in urban areas, with densely populated areas like Addis, introducing more advanced farming techniques to the youth is the driving and the key thing to actually the users can actually learn easily, and they can actually adopt these technologies, and they can actually learn it, and they can actually innovate it more. So when we take as an example the 5 World Cup countries, they are so-called the 5 World Cup countries in urban agriculture. The tech and the innovation there is skyrocketing due to the fact that there are young, energetic, and passionate young entrepreneurs who are actually pushing the limit. Let's take an example. In Netherlands, 35% of their horticulture demand comes from their urban farmers who actually produce vertically and hydroponically in greenhouses with a controlled environment, and adopting and actually getting this kind of technologies to our country to actually show this young generation there is actually a better way to do farming is the key to actually drive this sector, so that they can actually work on it, they can actually innovate it, and they can actually create this big industry by itself. So let's take the basic economic concept. So as a country, if Ethiopia has to develop, we have to export more and import less. That's economics 101, right? So if we can actually compete in the international market in the sectors like tech and consumer good electronics, we can compete with Apple, Microsoft, and all these big companies. It's actually a saturated market. But if we can actually take an example, if we can actually take the challenge that we are actually going to face in the near future, according to World Bank, We have to produce 70% more food than what we are producing right now in 2050. This is a huge challenge with a higher population, less land, and with the effects of climate change. So if we can actually solve this problem, there is a definite market for that, an open market for that. So we all have to work on this infant industry to grow it. There is a market and a demand for it in the near coming future. So as I see as a visionary, Ethiopia has to be this big food production powerhouse. And agri-tech is the future of Ethiopia and Africa. Thanks for having me once again, everyone. Thank you.
I want to thank Fraser. So remember, everybody, Fraser was the last company that we saw in the Vox Pop video. I'd like to ask Baukia or Mahader or Ghazal to share the link for that YouTube video in the chat with everybody on Zoom who did not see it in person. When I stepped inside your company, I felt like I was in a spaceship. And many people think, agroecology, no, Ethiopia does not need to stay in the Stone Age. We need to develop. It's our right. That's true. We need to develop. We need to innovate. We need to use the wisdom of our ancestors. We need to use the wisdom of our fathers and mothers. And we need to innovate. And we need to change. And we need to use modern science together. So when I see what you're doing, I feel like I'm in a very modern situation, but you're using technology like vermicompost and fish. But the thing that you're doing is you're innovating, you're using it in a new way. So I can't wait to taste your strawberries. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Dr. Bayush, who's a very special member of our network. She has been publishing a lot of material about this local seeds issue, our local seed diversity. She's been working with seed banks in Ethiopia for a long time. And she's also following the new policy developments regarding changes in our biodiversity. So I think many of us are not aware of what you're aware of. I think you'll bring us up to date and remind us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning. Okay, we have that problem. Okay. I'll be talking about the awareness regarding local seeds and GMOs. I have been working with farmers for the last 30 years or more, and working on the community seed banking, which is working with farmers and local seeds to increase diversity and choice for the farmers. As many of you are aware, farmer varieties are strongly condemned as backward, traditional, low yielding, and all that kind of negative connotations were attached, and they have been pushed away from the cultivation, but we need them. They have their niches, they have their significance. Of course, we are not against improved varieties. We need the development. But to cope with the emerging challenges like climate change, pest, and all the others, we need diversity. Without diversity, there is no solution for that. And first of all, seeds are the basis for our food production, because we depend on local farmers, and they need to have seeds. And with many choices, as a diversity center, we are growing many types of crops, cereals, pulses, many of them. So farmers are using that. And why do we discuss about local seeds? The first thing is they are still supplying the lion's share of the seed demand in our country. Data studies shows that like about 80% of the seeds demand in the country is fulfilled by the local seed system, which includes what farmers save at their home, plus what they get in exchange from others and also from the local traders. The formal system, which is a government extension system, and which is coming through the unions and some other NGOs, plus some private companies. The private companies are very little share, is about 5% or so. So we have to talk more about the 80% and try to work more on that. They need support. We need diversity. Without diversity, we cannot go on, because the agroecological diversity we have in Ethiopia also deserves to have diverse seeds. So the community seed banking are doing like the banking, formal banking does with the money, but these ones are providing local seeds. Farmers are coming, borrowing, grow it, and return back after harvest in kind. So there is literature on that you can refer to if you need to learn more about how it works. So that has been now very functional, and it's being taken up by different organizations and also regional governments. Is there adequate awareness regarding local seeds and GMOs? No, it's inadequate, and sometimes some groups know more about the local seeds and not about GMOs. Actually, GMOs are also part of the conventional agriculture, but they are not sustainable from my point of view. Because when we see the link with food security, I'll come back to that in a minute, but the awareness, it varies very significantly. It depends on the background, technical training, or closeness, or working with local farmers. The local farmers are the experts about the local seeds. They know which ones are good for which agroclimate, how to use, when to plant, how to store, seed handling, and even the utilization aspect. The improved varieties coming from the formal system, they are few. They are, and the GMOs, they are really now with a big question. And how many of the actors are knowing about it? If we take policymakers, researchers, agricultural universities, or the consumers, the knowledge varies significantly. Some know more about the local, some know about the GMOs. Still, the GMO case is even confused. Some are mixing it with the improved varieties which are being developed locally with the National Research Center. Those are sustainable. They are a different one. It is not the same. This is modified genetically using technology called genetic engineering. And the level of understanding when you come to farmers, it is no, completely no. They don't know about it, but there are some activities happening in our country, like the GMO maize, GMO cotton, GMO insect. How many of you are aware of that, even in our meeting currently? Insect is a very basic food source for over 20 million people in our country. It's an indigenous plant. It has multiple uses, from home use, from fiber production, soil conservation, and many others. So I cannot list it because of time constraint. But many are not aware, but the GMO insect is coming. And some discussions are on the media. Maybe some of you might have heard it. So the knowledge varies significantly among different actors. When we see the link to food security, we have to see different aspects, because food security is very critical to link it with seed security. A farmer who doesn't have seed is not food secure. They are so interrelated. The aspects to look with regard to seed security: one, is it locally available? Secondly, is it affordable? Is it of the right quality standard? Is it available in adequate quantity? Is it available at the right time when farmers need it? Are there choices to make, or is it just one or two? Or is adapted to the local conditions? The local ones, of course, as the name implies, they are being grown locally and they are adapted. But for the GMO, it depends where it is tested and based on the results. So we are not sure about that. And the last one is, are farmers capable of reproducing the seed? This is very critical when we think of sustainability. Sustainability is not a one-year business, because it has to continue. With the local seeds, they have been growing it, receiving, replanting, and that is how it has passed down through generations. But with the improved varieties, even not been going to the GMOs, especially if we talk about hybrids, they are good only for one season. Every season, the farmers have to get new seed. If not, the production decreases so much. It could be as low as 50%, if they repeat it for the second time, it will be just, if it's a maize, you don't get any crops at all. That has been experienced with many farmers. With the GMO, it's linked to patent rights. So from the very beginning, it's very clear that farmers are not allowed to sell, reuse, sell, or exchange seeds. That's protected by law. So that's how we get sustainability. So the sustainability issues like that. And the last one is the way forward for agriculture is to focus on agroecology and food sovereignty. Thank you, Sarah. You have been presenting about agroecology. It has been going on as a discussion for many years, but now FAO also has adopted, and the 10 principles are already there. So we have to think of that, and I would like to highlight on one of the points, like co-creation of knowledge, recycling, all the other studies. Wrongly, we are assuming that farmers didn't go to formal school, so they don't know much about like the trained people, and most of the time their knowledge is being disregarded, and that's why we are really having the trouble. If we do the research with participatory approach, engaging farmers, we are sure that the end result is meeting their needs, and then it will be sustainably used. So there were cases where farmers are being, researchers are doing research by themselves. At the end of the day, it was not fitting to the needs of the farmers. A typical example is like sorghum. They have a researcher were focusing on the yield, and they came up with a dwarf variety. When it went to the farmers didn't like it because the stock means a lot for them. So if they do it jointly, the result will be more applicable to the farmer's condition, and I think these participatory approaches are contributing a lot to that. So the food sovereignty is about diversity, and also what is food in one part of our country, we can see that it is not known in other parts, so that local significance is also to be taken up, and the sustainable issue, recycling and regenerative agriculture, those are key. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bayush. I also wanted just to mention, Dr. Bayush, sometimes people in our agroecology network ask me, where can I get seeds? Sometimes we've had to get seeds from Tanzania. But Dr. Bayush has helped our network members access some local seeds from the local research as well as the seed bank. So we have a resource in our network who can help us. Thank you for your informative presentation. And now we have Betty Mehem from Benue. She's a young entrepreneur and she's a nutrition expert. And why do we talk about food? One of the reasons is food should be for people, and our food should serve our communities. So thank you very much for joining us today. Go ahead.
The fact that I'm the last presenter, I feel like I have to make it very short, right? Yeah. So yeah. So as Sarah explained, my name is Beta Lihim. I'm a nutritionist. I'm a co-founder and CTO of Benue Foods. It's a company that produces a nutritious products, local and international market. Currently, we're trying to produce a biscuit, a nutritious biscuit. It's high protein, so it's highly focused on giving a nutritious product for the local market, especially for a school feeding program, for those who cannot afford to buy high nutritious and healthy snacks and everything. So today I'm going to say a little bit about food, as well as entrepreneurship. As a young entrepreneur, I feel like I have to say something about what we have in hand, what the stakeholders are trying to give us and what we're not using at this particular moment. So currently, we can go to the second slide. Yeah, so I will try to answer these questions just to make it very simple and catchy. What do we have on hand as a young entrepreneur and as a country that needs that's focused on nutrition and food security? So for the time being, I think we have land, a good weather, a good market or a demand that needs our help or our idea to be able to innovate in a large scale and to help our communities. Not like just, it's not for just Ethiopia or Africa, for the whole country. I believe that as a nutritionist, we have this huge market that we can work on. And the other thing is we have a large number of youth with a good education, relatively speaking, from the past generation. I think we have this youth number with a good education. So we can also use it as a power to have a good food security and to explore and food and nutrition and something that we don't even, for things that we don't have been working so far. So the other thing is what are the supports we need from stakeholders? We have this two categories of stakeholders, the government and non-government offices. From the government office, starting from Qabali, we have this Warada and the higher officials as it goes to the federal minister system. We have this loan process, mentorship, fund, including machinery funds. But I think the process that is going to be done to get this support is being more complicated and not easy to the young people, is making it a big strict problem to be able to engage in this type of innovation systems. And the other thing is we also have this non-government offices that gives support. As a witness, I have been incubated in a Blue Moon and Reach for Change system. It's a good process that helped me to get where I am today. It helps us to have a good understanding about marketing, business plan development, as well as how to be able to present our products and other things. And to be able to give this opportunity to all these young people who are trying to explore their idea and try to create their new innovations, it will be a big support for them as well. But the fact that these companies, this and non-governmental companies are focusing on their impact, and it might not be a design that will gonna help the youth, especially that are working in local companies, like locally, like farmers or those are living in a rural area or something like that. They're not being able to get this chance because the design or the framework is not that much convenient for this type of people. So I think that's a problem, and we need to be able to redesign the process, the government as well as the non-government process, and what is currently available in our country as well as in the whole world. To be honest with you, the fact that we're more focused on the negative parts, we're not being able to explore the opportunities that have been created for the youth, especially for those who are working on nutrition and food. I believe that the fact that we have this huge gap of market that we couldn't be able to produce nutritious or anything that food related products is the one we have as like the available thing that we currently have on hand. So we don't have to be complaining about, we don't have this, we don't have that. I don't think we will be able to work on this or that. So I think this is what we have currently. And other than that, we have this huge number of guidelines that we can use from the international as well as from the local NGOs and government offices. But we need to be able to explore all the details and to be able to understand what they really mean and how we will gonna interpret it to our system. The fact that it's a guideline, it's designed as for the whole community, for those who will be able to work on different sectors. So if we are planning to work on food or food related innovations, we need to be able to see the guidelines and to ask people to redesign it to a different label, so that as I have mentioned before, for those who are living in a rural area, or for those who don't have this high education to start their own business and everything. So I think these are some of our available things and things that we have to work on. And for those who are trying to create their own company and trying to focus on food and related things, I believe that try to focus, I feel like you have to focus on the positive sides and the negative side, and try to struggle and do the thing, and hopefully it will gonna help you and build. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. So try to believe that. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So thank you all panelists for our guests on Zoom. This concludes our presentation session. For the people on Zoom, we invite you to put your questions in the chat. And now we're going to take a round of questions from the participants in the room. Also for the people on Zoom, we invite you to chat suggestions of ways forward or follow up from here, because we don't want just to talk and go. We need to make sure that we take a step forward together, because the movement always needs to be moving forward towards sustainability. So for those of you in the chat, we want to hear your ideas for next steps. For those of you in the room, we're going to take a round of questions. And I would like Zao to select 2 good questions from the chat, and he will read them to the group. And I will invite questions and comments from the room now.
Thank you very much. I'm Shafi Jara. I'm a colleague of Brighton. I will start by saying the theme of World Food Day 2020, agroecology and use for food. I have 2 points. The first one is question. The second one is a suggestion for the way forward. My question goes to Mr. Frew, because I think you have a huge number of agricultural extension agents. I think all of us work with people and all of us can share, but I directed because you have a lot of extension agents. As given agricultural extension group, when you put basics to participation or self-reliance, he says like this: go to the people, live with them, love them, learn from them, start with what they have, build on what they know, and in the end, when the work is done, the people rejoice, we have done it ourselves. How far you go with this? This is my question. Secondly, as a supply chain specialist, I want you to look the whole, to go in holistic approach. In supply chain management, there are 5 things you can, 5 pillars you can contextualize for yourself. There is physical flow of goods, information flow, financial flow, the trade system we are in, and the safety and security issues. And supply chain is as strong as its weakest link. I was working in export sector, so I think in the near future, very nice export force. So when you look at a container, it has some small thing called seal that can lock the container. If you don't have that seal, you cannot export the container. So we should be in a holistic approach. And in supply chain, we should consider from upstream, supplier side, to downstream, to the consumer side. So please see along the chain and be holistic. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Anderson. the International Water Management Institute. Formerly, I was in this network as well, still now. My concerns, I'm really happy to see the issue of women and youth at the front line in today's debate and discussion in agroecology and sustainability, because quite often, especially with the unprecedented times that we have, the coronavirus and other infections, it's the women, it's the youth that are most affected. And we actually need to have a sustainable food system, for sustainable water systems, for a better of human beings as well as environment. So let me come back to my points. The first one, the concern I had was with the local seeds and GMOs awareness presentation. I really like that there are initiatives like this, but for me, I mean, the initiatives that we have, unless they are into the policy making, we will be left out. Looking into the policies that are pushing the Ethiopian government, the agricultural policy, and the agricultural system quite recently, it's pushing into the genetically modified as a better option for the future generations. For me, it's really concerning. So what are we doing here? If things in the policy making are completely changing with, few months, seeds are coming outside. So one of the things is not only about cotton, it's also about the foods that we will be eating, maize and other things. It's being pushed. So what are we doing as civil society, as international organizations, as government organizations, as farmers, as different actors? How are we going to be involved in the decisions that are already being made by the decision makers? For me, it's a huge concern because we can't bring it back once it's in the flow. The second point is, food sovereignty is also about, producing something that we would like to have, for farmers to have an option, for farmers to have a say in the seeds, in the type of agriculture they want to plant. So we should be giving them as well the flow, the discussion, and the decision-making process, and the future food system that we would like to see. In the Conservation Agriculture Ministry, also for the others, the water sector is a big pillar for the whole sustainability of the agroecology and our food systems. So innovations in the water system has to also come up front and scaling for betterment scaling of the agroecology and conservation agriculture mainstreaming practices in Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anton. My point question goes to Juanes Forleza on you made it clear the constraints of live distribution and availability. That's true. Only a small portion of the farmers are receiving these live things. But the major problems are the raw material and the factories. Getting closer the land to the farmers and to the factories, that's the major problem because the land is the raw material is away. The cement factories say are located somewhere else. And another issue is actually why we are not also holding the private sector to distribute produce and distribute land on itself rather than to the unions or to the government, because the government cannot have its own system. So private sector can be also seen as one option. On conservation reportedly, the some areas where conservation started in this country, others are actually expanding it, especially the zero or low tillage. It's being expanded in some areas where we are trying to. One major issue is the some people say Roundup is not sustainable. some others cannot take possession of around. So the major threat is the fact to take out and but approaching social agriculture, they want to go
Hello?